record what I say here so you can have a copy of it. Okay. I mean, this is fine, this introduction, but it doesn't get you any marks. And I would advise you to put one of the statistics I put in the revision pack in there to start off with. Accessed ED. User websites. Yes, good. Okay, so I'm going to give you marks for that. So here you're kind of repeating yourself. You said, so it's changed because everything is accessed, but now you say they've been forced to move the news onto the internet. I suppose it's an industry thing, maybe, but I'm not sure if I'll give you separate points for those, separate marks. Here, if you were talking about the newspaper being an additional thing that they do, I would talk about it. They describe it as the legacy part of the business. Legacy, that would get you a mark. Now, I don't know what that means. That's just they don't have debt. They lose money every year, but because they're owned by the Scott Trust, and the Scott Trust has a lot of money, they're not in debt. So you need to express that more clearly, because it's just not right. Okay, and then you talked about the Guardian, and now I would start a new paragraph here. You talked about the Guardian, organise it out to say, okay, you can't say like Mark said, Mark Prensky. Yeah, you can say Prensky, but you can't say his first name because it makes it sound like he's a friend of yours. Digital natives needs a capital N. Yeah, so that's right, but I would have put that in the introduction.
How would I introduce that statistic in the intro?
You literally
just have to say right now.
You literally put it in like that.
So I don't need to add anything.
No.
Cool.
Just put it in there. Hi, Karen.
Is Laura in?
She's in WR.
Right, okay. I'll
I
see
think IER. Is that what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll see, because I'm in. No, actually, no.
Okay.
Okay, I'll leave those there for her.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, cool.
And again, you're making a different point here. The internet has allowed the audience to become citizen journalists. Yeah, and if you're talking about news of conversation, why don't you talk about the comment section of The Guardian?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a missed opportunity there. Now, Sumley doesn't exist anymore.
It doesn't exist?
No. You need to talk about Inkle or Feedly. I don't know what that example. It did exist last year, but it doesn't exist anymore. So you need to.
Cool. All right.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
June 2017, it closed down.
Okay.
All right. So on the revision pack, it's got Inkle and Feedly. You need to talk about them. Yeah. Try not to talk about me. So I suppose you can. You still get the marks for it.
Okay.
And Merrin doesn't just talk about news. He talks about the media you want.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. And again, I would put a new paragraph here because I'm talking about YouTube.
Okay.
Yes, except The New York Times actually has metered access. So you're talking about the Wall Street Journal here.
Oh, okay.
And you need to get your facts straight. Easier to talk about the Times if you're talking about a paywall.
Oh, okay.
The Wall Street Journal has a paywall. You can't get any articles on it. On the New York Times, you can get 4 or 5 a month,
Okay.
which
Okay.
is called metered access. Now, it's not telling them their news is reliable, but they are establishing a brand.
Okay.
And if you use that phrase, establishing a brand,
Yeah.
just by getting someone to pay for something is not saying that your news is reliable. It's
Yeah.
like saying you want this, you can pay for it. So if you
Oh, okay.
did, the Sun used to be behind a paywall,
Yeah.
but it was gossip and, so it doesn't actually tell them it's reliable. It's,
Okay. So establish a brand that they
yeah,
can
to establish a brand and monetize is like that. Needs an E in there.
Oh.
Literally can't be bothered to go out there. Okay, another method. So just start a new paragraph. I don't understand what that means.
Oh,
How do they make money for the amount of views their website gets?
So
Who's paying them that money?
Actually, it's based off ads. I think the monetization is based off ads, and so anytime someone sees the ads, that's when they get the money.
Yeah.
Okay. So I got it wrong.
So they have to generate more traffic.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, you can say newspaper advertising in print newspapers is falling, and so they have to try and generate more revenue from online advertising.
Okay.
And the problem with that, as Jordan pointed out, is that online advertising is Google is the place where is sort of dominates the market in online advertising. Not many people do this. So you have to say the Guardian, for example,
is an example.
Trying to establish itself as a leading liberal voice, has asked for donations or monthly contributions. And if you're talking about a monthly plan, that is a subscription. And so a paywall, like the Times, is just a subscription service. You don't get stuck behind the paywall if you pay the Times £7 a month. Yeah.
I think I was trying to say that like you can kind of like charities where you view their stuff, but you can also.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But you have to link it into the Guardian because there are no other newspapers that do that, as far as I know. Okay. So try and call it film rather than movie, but all right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. If you say they have lost 500 million, you need to say when.
Oh, well, like in the year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know by any chance which year?
No, but I reckon. What? Because I put the word streaming there. What are you on about? there you go. Piracy to cost TV and film industry 22 billion by 2022.
Okay.
$52. That's quite a lot. Hello, Elias.
Can I get to have my report, please?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Hang on, I have to stop this recording because I need to. Wait a minute. Just so this doesn't go down as. Okay, let's go back. So, okay, but if whatever statistic you put, you have to put the dates in there. Okay, it's just like when in history.
Yeah. Okay, cool. If I put a fake date, would that be okay?
No, it wouldn't.
Oh, okay.
Because they can find it out as easily as I just did by copying and pasting it into the internet. Good. 3D. Good. Yes, good. Yes. Good. You're going to get marks for that. Yeah. Now, if you're talking about people, you have to talk about prosumers here.
Okay.
If you're talking about people taking content and repurposing it, then you have to say, this is the audience that Gilmore calls prosumers, or Gauntlet. Who's it?
Yeah.
Gilmore. And you could also, I think there's a quote from Henry Jenkins about repurposing in the revision pack. Okay, so it's just a missed opportunity. If you're saying people are doing stuff themselves, then you should talk about prosumers because you're going to get marks.
Yes, okay.
Again, as I said in the lesson, VOD, which is that's another mark.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. Let's say film projects fund their own project and TV shows.
Okay, yeah, I should just put film project.
The internet has been a great help for them as they have analysis data from websites such as Putlocker.
That's what Miss said that they did. They said that you're able to analyze that they've used data from Putlocker to analyze what people are interested in, so they could create a series based off that.
I've never heard of that. Never heard of that. All right, I'll have to talk to her about that.
Okay.
Now, if you're quoting a title, then you have to get it right. It's called Beasts of No Nation, not Beast of No Nation. Okay.
Yeah.
So they will not give you the mark if you just write something that's a bit like the title. Same as quotations, you have to. Now, and again, it's not a movie that was showcased by them. Yeah. It was made by them.
Oh, it was made by... Oh, yeah. I thought it was an individual project that someone...
It's a production. It's a Netflix production. Okay? Yeah. I mean, you're right. Small-scale filmmakers can find a home on Netflix.
Yeah.
But that's not an example of it.
Okay.
This is an example of Netflix making a film, releasing it in the cinema, and simultaneously releasing it on Netflix.
Do you have an idea of any film that was showcased by an individual filmmaker that was put on Netflix?
I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but you can research it.
Yeah.
Yeah, good crowdfunding. They wouldn't necessarily have to pitch their ideas to the big six movie industries. There are other, and their studios. There are other ways to fund a film.
Okay.
And it's unlikely you'd go to just those. There are other smaller film production companies, I would say. All right, so I'll tell you what your problem is.
Okay.
You just have not got enough theory in there.
Okay, so I need to put more theorists.
Yeah, I mean, all you've got is the name Mark,
Yeah.
and he's the wrong person. You've got Merrin,
Yeah.
and so really you've correctly used one theorist,
Okay.
and you need to get, even if it's just talking about prosumers,
Yeah.
you need to look at the revision pack and see that there are lots of other people you can talk about.
Okay.
Even if it's in the conclusion,
Okay.
if you're saying, just have a look at this.
How many theorists would you say you should?
I would say you're going to have to. You should have 3 or 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So, you know, you nearly had Prensky.
Yeah.
You could have talked about Dan Gilmore here.
Yeah.
You did have Merrin.
Yeah.
And I think you could have talked about Marshall McLuhan at the end and said, well, look, we're living in a global village now. That's the way everything has changed. Yeah. And here's the one that you could have used for your memes.
Yeah, okay.
The fluidity of digital media means that audiences can find and use films in new and different ways.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And that is what they're looking for. They're looking for you giving all these examples, but also saying, oh, well, this fits in with what he says or she says. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Grade-wise, well, you've got lots of examples in there.
Yeah.
But the theory is going to pull you down.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think it would probably get a C.
Okay.
Even though you've made lots and lots of points,
yeah.
I think they would shy away from
a higher grade.
Maybe, I don't know. You'd got high C, low B, maybe.
Okay.
But if you wanted to be really securely above that, you've got to use the theory. And I mean, the other thing is they are not going to trust themselves. The thing about the C is they're asking for good knowledge.
Yeah.
And good knowledge doesn't mean saying things that are not true.
Yeah.
Spelling names of films wrong.
Yeah.
Calling Mark Prensky Mark. You know, they want to feel that they have a kind of you have an absolutely solid grounding in what's going on, and it does feel a little bit as if you've thrown a lot at it without taking care to make sure that what you've said is, you know, like they're saying they have a debt of 60 million.
Yeah.
It's not just you don't get a mark for that. What the examiner is doing is saying, well, no, they don't. You're just saying you've put something in here that's not true.
Yeah.
And if I want to say this is a good example, then I can't really, because there's stuff in here that's just not, it's undermining the good stuff that you've written. All right, well, look, I've just said that all to you. I don't know if you want to watch the recording of it again.